Hi, everyone, and welcome to We Are a Crotchety Old Man,
And a woman.
the podcast for you, with you, and sometimes even about you. Today is going to be interesting because we have a lot of conspiracies going to go on. In fact, we have our first international guest. Say hello, Tico.
Hola.
So yes, now if you don't speak Spanish, it's okay because Tico actually speaks very, very good English. I don't, but he does, so that's definitely a major plus. But before we get to him, we have to. I want to first off say thank you to. I met some of my former work buddies today, so I wanted to thank West. I wanted to thank Tabitha and Stacy. We went out for lunch today. Went to Cracker Barrel, and we picked up. I picked up Abigail some food for tonight, and we ate our faces off. So I wanted to just thank them for meeting me out there.
Cracker Barrel. That's kind of offensive.
It's not offensive. It's not a white man place to be. In fact, actually, there was more other nationalities than there were white people today.
Okay.
Okay. So, Abigail, guess who is celebrating? They're probably not celebrating right now. Their 2,380th birthday today.
Jesus Christ, I don't know.
Now, Jesus actually would be younger than this person, but the answer, Alexander the Great. It's his birthday today, so that's a lot of freaking candles to go on there on that birthday cake. So this and right now, this day in food, there's actually two National Food Days. I don't know why there's two, but it is National Fortune Cookie Day. Yay! And wow, was that a conspiracy that there's two? And the second one is National Lollipop Day.
I like lollipops.
Is there a favorite lollipop? Like I was a big fan of Tootsie Pops. What about you?
I guess so. I mean, the dum-dums that you used to get at the bank, you remember those days?
They still have them at Wells Fargo. I had one a couple days ago.
Now, how about you, Tico? Do any of your banks have dum-dums?
No, I don't go to a bank anymore. It's 2024.
Well, some of us old crotchety people still go to banks. Did you have a favorite lollipop growing up?
Whenever I used to get my hair cut, we would always get a Dum Dum, but I guess really Tootsie Pops were my favorite.
Those were. What was the one? It was like really like thick and bulbous, and it had like chewing gum in the middle.
I don't remember.
Was that a blow pop?
I think so.
Nice. Nice.
So let's go back to the fortune cookie for a moment. We should look up at one point, what year did they start putting fortunes in the fortune cookie?
Well, I don't know the year, but I do know the fortune cookie was an American invention. It was not made in China. That's all USA. USA. The fortune cookie. Same with chop suey. Chop suey, another American invention. Speaking of inventions, very bad segue. This day in history, and in 1944, there was an assassination attempt on Adolf Hitler. It was failed, obviously, but that was a very big part because that's when he really started to go crazy.
Well, I mean, you got to find that a little ironic because the Dems love to call Trump Adolf Hitler.
Exactly.
And apparently there was an assassination attempt on his life.
And it failed.
This day in history. Wow.
Yeah, 1 week ago. So,
wow.
Yeah, kind of crazy. In 1969 was the first moon landing where Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon. And some people think that may or may not have happened.
What do you say, Tico?
So my thoughts on that are, I believe that we did go to the moon, but if I was to say there was a conspiracy of faking the moon landing, I think the strongest evidence is they are trying to say that we lost the technology that was used in the 1960s that allowed us to go to the moon. So they're starting from scratch. In about the year 2000 or 2001, I went to the Kennedy Space Center and I did a tour of the command room where they ran the launch from. And it looked like you could have run it with a hamster wheel and a light bright.
Well, they do say that there
So
was more, they have more programming is now in our cell phones than was used to actually launch
easily,
something to the moon.
easily.
Yeah. And here's the other one. In 1976, Viking 1 landed on Mars. So if we fake the moon landing, did we also fake the landing on Mars?
That was the year I was born. So I think that happened.
All right.
It was a
So
great year.
1976, the bicentennial. Pretty important. I used to always call it the bicentennial. I don't know why instead of the bicentennial. But now, one of the segments that sadly, because Ask Abigail has actually been kind of pushed out of the way, is this one. Abigail, what do you have for sports this week?
The only thing I'm going to mention is what I already mentioned before. Tonight is the WNBA All Star game, and there's a twist. All of the All Stars from WNBA that are part of the Olympic team will play tonight against the remaining All Stars of the WNBA. So, since Caitlin Clark didn't get picked for the Olympics, she'll be playing on the other team, and I will just find sweet justice if she hits a 3-pointer at the buzzer beater and wins the game.
To beat Team USA.
Yes,
So you're actually rooting against Team USA.
absolutely.
Wow. So there's people who call you a commie for that. There are some, not many. But are you going to watch any of the Olympics? They start Friday.
I don't know. I watched some of it, but I really can't think of what I really like in the summer one. I love the winter one. How about you, Tico Joe?
I'm sorry, you lost me at WNBA. What are we talking about?
The Olympics. How's the? We didn't mention that Tico's actually from Costa Rica. So does Costa Rica have any Olympians ever? Like, was there the great Costa Rican Olympic? I don't know. What's the big sport down there?
uh, the big sport is football, which is soccer for the rest of you uncouth. And
Nice.
that is obviously the national sport. But as for Olympians, or if anybody down here actually cares about the Olympics, I've never heard of it.
Oh, that's pretty sad. It's not like the Jamaican bobsled team, which was amazing. They could have won it all, but they oopsied. So now let's get into what everyone actually cares about. And what's really funny is I was at lunch today, and I got an email saying, "What is Ask Abigail all about today?" And because of time, we're going to try to make this an easy one. Abigail,
Yes.
the Republican National Convention was just the other day. There was 4 days of it. What was what do you think was your favorite part, your least favorite part, and was there any surprise?
Okay, I'll answer some of those questions, but not all. The first, what I did like was that they had a theme for every night. I thought what they did with the Gold Star families that was a good presentation. Um, contradicting Joe Biden's claim that not one troop had been lost on his watch. Um, and then I just felt like there were a lot of powerful speeches from everyday Americans. And when Trump gave his speech, I thought for theater wise, those very large monitors showing different aspects about him, I thought that was really cool looking. I'd never seen that in a convention. What I did not like was Kid Rock. Is that his name?
Kid Rock. I'm a huge fan
Okay,
of his.
well, I'm sorry. I hated it. I didn't think it was appropriate. But on the flip side, maybe I am contradicting myself here. I liked Hulk Hogan. I thought he did a good job.
Okay, and so no other actual surprises, like nothing that you went, wow. Was there any speaker that you were surprised at that did it like you thought either did a terrible job or a great job?
The only thing I didn't like outside of that was Nikki Haley's dress. It was just hideous.
What would you like to reward? Just like a plain red dress or something, or
Yes.
okay.
Well,
So,
ask our guest what he thought.
well, I was about to. So did Costa Rica even? Did anyone down there actually follow what was going on here in the United States?
No, I think if you're in the closer to the capital city of San Jose, you have people that care a little bit more about world news and world politics. But I'm on the Pacific coast and it's just something they don't even think about.
Okay. But we want to know what you think about. So you asked us if that you could come on and talk about conspiracies. Now, do we have a conspiracy for Tico that we just came up with?
No, I think, Tico and I are good friends, and we've been texting each other back and forth. And he's got a lot of things to say about the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. And he doesn't just have one theory, he has multiple. So we're ready to listen, and we may comment periodically, but Tico Joe, take it from the top.
First, I'd just like to say real quick my favorite and least favorite parts about the convention. I thought the Hulkster, he stole the show. Easily my favorite part.
It was awesome.
The second favorite was the YMCA Trump video where they had him dancing to it. And kind of leading into one of my conspiracies, I really, really, really didn't like the way they presented the beginning of Trump's speech with the gigantic screens showing him with blood coming down on his hands. It just kind of feeds into the conspiracy of maybe Trump did this to himself.
Wow.
Now, I mean, if he got hurt, that could make sense. But are you saying that you don't believe he was actually shot?
Well, we haven't seen any photos of his ear to see
Agreed.
the damage that was done. He's been wearing a napkin on his ear that looks like it's brand new. Um,
Well, I would hope he's wearing a new napkin.
yeah, true, but
Uh,
easily, the shot is obscured by obviously his head. He's shot on the ear that none of the cameras caught an angle of. He very simply could have had a blood pack and smashed that against his ear to make it look like he had been shot. Now, you have to take into account that unfortunately 3 other people were shot and one of them lost their lives. So,
right.
do I believe Trump would actually have another person murdered in order to make it look like he had an assassination attempt against himself? Well, I wouldn't put it past anybody that runs for politics. Everybody likes to say Trump's not a politician, but he's a politician. He runs for office. He's been president once already. He's in the same bag with the rest of them.
Okay. By the way, tonight, Trump was speaking. I was actually looking at my phone while you were speaking. He gave a speech today live on the air and was wearing a flesh tone bandage over the top of his ear. So we still don't have pictures of it, but he was wearing something new. He was no longer wearing that little pillowcase thing.
I do agree with Tico a little bit on not this. I don't think Trump did it, but I find it odd that there are no photographs of the damage to his ear. I mean, when Reagan got shot, they at least did diagrams to show how the bullet went in. But for this, they have not showed any part of his injuries. There should have been photographs taken at the hospital.
Yes.
So go on, Tico. Sorry about that.
So, and it's also it I mean, our Secret Service obviously was a disaster that day. But the fact that, Trump gets up and they don't know if there's any more shooters, but he gets 5 to 10 seconds to give his rally call of fight, 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 right in the exact same position that he almost had his head blown off.
Mm.
And then pretty much the most iconic photo that was ever taken in our lifetimes, and maybe ever when it comes to politics. He's got blood coming down the side of his face. He's got his hand raised up. He's got a woman clinging on to the side of him with an American flag perfectly positioned. Now, when we say conspiracy, it takes more than one, obviously. So that means the photographer could be in on it.
Which is possible because he was in perfect spot. The only thing that, and my job is to try to come up with other alternate endings, conspiracies, that the flag actually had been furled for most, and it just happened at that right exact time. It unfurled with the wind, which is pretty fascinating. So, like someone would have had to pull like a string or something to let it unfurl right at that exact time.
Wow, I didn't think of that. Now it was backwards though.
Yeah. Well,
And in a way, the photographer, how could he have taken such a great shot when there was such chaos right there by the podium?
it's almost like he knew there wasn't a threat.
And did he know that there would be the woman Secret Service agent who was like a foot shorter than him to be right in the front?
I was telling my friends it almost looked exactly like the movie poster for the movie Vacation with Chevy Chase, where he's got his wife hanging on to him and he's standing up proud and strong.
Yes.
And
Yeah, tennis racket in there.
the,
I don't
the
know.
flag being perfect, everything was just another miracle of God.
Well, now how would you describe like they have the vapor trail picture? Like, do you think that that was doctored as well?
Yes. And I'll tell you why, because even if the bullet just ripped through the top part of his ear, as far as I understand, that bullet should have started tumbling at that moment. And it looked like, if it's a real photo, that it's still going straight. It almost looks like it's being shot through water,
Hmm.
where, and I get it, uh, it's the air around it that is causing the effect. But you know,
Okay, so that's one perspective. So, do you have any other theories about the kid himself? Or are you sticking with Trump staged the whole thing?
oh no, I have about 5 possible
Well,
conspiracies.
let's go ahead and move on to the next one.
Okay. The biggest problem with the Trump conspiracy is that 3 other people were shot.
Right.
And I don't really know if he would go that far to pull off a conspiracy. Um, but let's talk about the kid. He looks like he's, I don't know, 12 years old, weighs about 120 pounds, and is the perfect patsy. He has no friends. Somehow, in the year 2024, he has no social media. But they say that he had 2 cell phones. Why would he have two? It would almost be like he would have one phone for his personal use and the other is a burner phone for, who knows, more than likely the CIA or the FBI. But I would lean towards the CIA to be in contact with them. Then I've been hearing today that he actually had offshore accounts that are encrypted, that they're trying to figure out how to get into that.
I thought
So
of that too, Tico. I don't even know how to set up an account that's encrypted. So yeah, go on.
what is that? I mean, I've never, unless it's crypto, or yeah, if it's crypto,
Well, there
you know,
was.
or-
Have you ever heard? I've seen it, and I think I used it at a video game service called Steam or Stream, because they said one of those was that.
so Steam is an engine for video games, and that wouldn't be considered a bank account, I don't believe. But then I also read that now the FBI, after they came out and said it was his, now are leaning towards it wasn't his.
Oh.
So kind of like if the FBI is involved in a conspiracy, kind of like the Secret Service, they just can't get their story straight and they're tripping over themselves. Um, so to have 3 offshore accounts encrypted, which would only make me think that I just don't even know what an encrypted account would be unless it's a crypto account. But that wouldn't even matter if it was overseas or if it was here in the US.
Well, what if they were? Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I had a couple questions. So, what about the threat that Iran actually put on the United States, and maybe he's somehow an Iranian agent? That also came out, and maybe that's why they were encrypted accounts.
I don't think the Iranians would ever attempt to assassinate an American president or a candidate for the presidency. The United States just would not be able to accept it and not have a full retaliatory, just burn the place to the ground.
So you don't think that Joe Biden to win the election and keep his job, and because he's giving how many billions and millions to Iran right now, that stop.
Right. But Tika, you were saying the theory is somebody like the CIA.
Right.
Do you think that would be on behalf of Joe Biden?
That's what I was trying to. Sorry, that's why I was trying to go like that.
Well, I'm Abigail, so.
Right. But
So you could say it's somebody in the administration. It's not Joe Biden. He's too far gone. I mean, he just doesn't have the mental capacity to be able to process anything like this. The
maybe
planet
Dr. Jill. Hmm.
could be,
She is a doctor. So
but they bring up Iran being a threat after the assassination attempt. And then they try to say that they beefed up his security. But at the same time, we find out that essentially he had the B or C team protecting him that day. What our government has so much disrespect for us as the citizens that they tell us the stupidest lies. And they don't care about ever having to go back and make sense of it all. It's kind of like, the roof is too steep, too much of a slope, whatever she said, for them to risk the safety of snipers. Like, that's comical. That's them just looking you in the eye and being like, you're dumb. And here is the most absurd answer I can possibly give anyone. Everybody knows this roof is essentially flat. But I'm going to tell you, don't believe your lion eyes. It was too much of a risk for us to put a sniper up there. But we put the snipers in the building
yes,
to
inside
protect
the
it.
building, which they work very well.
And the sniper that supposedly shot him was on a much more sloped roof.
So I believe I talked to you about this the other day, that I didn't think that the snipers that they showed in the video were the ones who actually shot him or killed the 20-year-old nerd. It was a different sniper that was actually at a further distance that performed the kill shot.
Well, my point is the head tried to say it was too sloped for the kill, for the
To even
kid,
see him.
right? But they have plenty of pictures of those two men on a much higher sloped building.
Yeah.
So, like you said, they treat they treat us like we're idiots.
And
But
now today came out that a police officer, police sniper, missed him because they said there was 8 shots fired by the kid. But now we're learning that there was a shot by the Secret Service sniper, a shot fired from the police sniper who missed, and now possibly a second sniper actually hit him. Because they said they were interviewed a gentleman today who said that the sniper pictured. They said it was a slightly obstructed view, but he was still able to hit him. Said it was like a 1 in a million shot.
these people hate us, Wayne. They hate
Well,
us.
well, here's the other part. Here's the other part that's interesting. With all this is why I actually do believe in some conspiracy theories. Trump has literally said he's going to end the war in Ukraine. How much money is the United States making? Like I know that the world is making. That if it ends, all that money disappears. That like all of a sudden the Ukraine's not getting any money. It all ends. It all stops. No more bullets to be made.
And
Okay,
that's where you look at the military industrial complex angle to all this, that they would be involved.
tell us more.
I mean, they're the ones that when we sell all these arms to the Ukrainians, we have to then replenish our depot with more weapons. And it's not like when they sell an F-16 that we're going to then have Boeing or Northrop build us another F-16. No, they're going to build us an F-22, which cost, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Yet we just sold an F-16 for $25 million to Ukraine. So the military industrial complex is making a lot of money off of all these sales.
Okay, so let's go back to the day that Trump was shot at. So if you believe that the CIA or whoever was involved with this, they would have had to include a lot of police officers and and so forth. The kid was able. Somebody mentioned a ladder, but I think that I'm not. I think that was a fixed ladder on the building, but not. None. He was able to hide a gun there apparently from the day before. He had a drone over the rally that day. What I mean, what more? Go on essentially, Tico.
I don't think it would require much. I mean, if it's instilled, I forget what they call it. I don't think it's called mission creep, but essentially, you had the local police who came out today to say, to refute what the Secret Services said, that they were supposed to provide security. They stated today that they were only there for traffic management. Then you've got the Secret Service. Like I said, it wasn't the A team, it wasn't the B team, it was probably the C team. And then you've got hired guns for being snipers that are in a building. And essentially you have people who everybody looks and says, hey, there's a suspicious guy, there's a suspicious guy. Let me report it to someone. They report it, but then they think, well, somebody else will take care of it. Somebody else will take care of it. And then all of a sudden, you didn't really need any of these people to participate in the conspiracy. It was just so disorganized that was it disorganized on purpose where it would only require one or two people at the top, somebody involved in the Secret Service that's been compromised by the CIA. And, that's how they'd be able to pull it off without having to include all the police. I mean, they knew a guy was there. He climbed up air conditioning units, is the latest I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
and was aiming his gun at Trump, and nobody gave the signal to shoot. They were all in fear of doing anything. And then they waited till he fired off 4 or 5 shots before they returned fire.
Well, that goes back to like something I mentioned last week, where I actually did get an answer which it was imminent threat. So if he had a weapon but wasn't aiming it, that would may or may not be an imminent threat. And but shooting him, actually pulling the triggers, that we've seen that a lot of police officers, I'm not talking Secret Service, police officers are afraid to pull their weapons.
Okay, sorry. This is unconscionable that they didn't take the shot. My understanding now is they had 10 plus minutes that they had their eyes on him. He should have been executed as soon as he was on top of the building, holding the rifle. That should have been enough. So why, what are these Secret Service snipers told to stand down?
Maybe. And you think about rubbing it in your face attitude from the Secret Service. You had the lady that, I don't know what you call her, the one that's in charge.
The director?
The director of the Secret Service has the balls to show up at the Republican convention
Yeah.
and walk around almost daring the Republicans to confront her and just smile in their face, being like, yeah, I almost had your man killed. What are you going to do about it?
Abigail was not very happy that night that Marsha Blackburn was yelling at her.
I just thought the senators were inappropriate, but like you said, Joe, it was just disgusting that that woman showed up at the convention.
I mean, now they had Secret Service at the convention, obviously.
I understand that, but was she going to be a keynote freaking speaker?
And she was there for 2 other days and didn't meet with anyone. I mean, they easily could have gotten a room and met with some of these senators. It's a lot. And I have been watching way too much videos on Twitter of this possible kid. And there's one where he's doing parkour training. So if I could, now that I see it, you can see how he can climb up air conditioned units. But at the same time, it's like, is he a Lee Harvey Oswald type? Like, is he the patsy? Was like he in on it? What did they somehow find this kid?
Or was he just like a school shooter?
Yeah. The fact that they can't find anything on this kid anywhere, but they know he's a loser. They know he's by himself. Well, there's got to be things about it. I mean, his friends said he was not his friends, but classmates were like, yeah, he was a total loser.
Yeah.
Like, that's scary.
Both his parents were social workers, probably counselors. Seems to fit the background of a lot of other shooters. Why did he go to Home Depot and buy a 5-foot ladder that he never used?
Yeah.
And they take these lonesome losers and they groom them and make them feel wanted and everything else, and then tell them like, yeah, man, don't worry, you're gonna knock off Trump, and then we're gonna put you on a plane and fly you to Costa Rica and give you $1 million, and you'll never hear from anyone again. And then it's like he's got remote detonators for bombs that he's got in his car. Like, he's just, it's not realistic. The entire story is not realistic. And real quick, about the director of the Secret Service showing up at the convention. They do these things to insult and dare you. And it's like when it came to the Warren Commission, that they put Alan Dulles as one of the members of the Warren Commission. And he was the head of the CIA that was fired by John F. Kennedy, who declared that he wanted to dismantle the CIA.
Right.
Huh. So it sounds like you overall believe that obviously someone other than this kid orchestrated this. And you had the theory that Trump may have been behind at least the optics of getting shot, but do you believe overall that, I guess definitively, Do we think this kid was just like a school kid shooter, or was he helped? And I think based on our conversations tonight, you believe he was helped.
As of right now, yes, I think that it could be anybody from Trump to the Secret Service to the FBI to the CIA to the military industrial complex. It could be any of them that, you know, to me, it's implausible that this 20-year-old nerd is, he did it by himself.
What are your thoughts, Abigail? Because we got to slightly wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, I think Arden, we should invite Tico Joe next week once we have more information from the news that may flood out, if he's available, just so we can update our conspiracy theory.
We might have a whole new show going on here called Conspiracy Theory. But I just want to throw my little last 2 cents in that since COVID, where they blamed a pangolin and bat soup for spreading COVID, like I don't trust anyone anymore about anything. But Tico Joe, join us next week if you're open to it. If not, we'll bring you back on. Abigail, any last words?
No, thank you to our guests, but like I said, let's watch the news this week and see what else we find out, and maybe we'll have you back on if you're available.
Sure, just let me know.